Someone go back and look at the chat.
I don't see it. What time?
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing In a Violent Nature. Things might turn to a violent nature here this evening. Stay tuned for that. Joining me first up tonight from Manhattan, New York City. Doesn't know how to read a text. Please welcome John Schnorrs to the show.
You miss one text out of, I don't know, 400, and, here we are. Yeah, I think I was in bed when that came through, just
Great.
FYI.
Next up, from Indiana, please welcome Casey. He does read his text.
Hello. And I was not in bed.
And last up tonight, from
Pop quiz.
the Bay Area of San Francisco, please welcome Rachel to the show.
So I have a green screen. You can't tell. I'm actually in bed right now.
I was searching for an adjective to go with San Francisco, and everything I came up with felt insulting. So I decided to just
Also
keep
probably
going.
accurate,
Yeah.
to be clear.
Who built San, like
Feces cover.
yeah. From the fencing capital of the world. Please welcome.
Come on.
I mean, Eric,
Open
you
air
had the
drug market.
Eric, you had the perfect lead in. We were just talking about rice-a-roni on Slack last week.
That's right. Yeah, mind blown. I learned that rice-a-roni has pasta in it. I always just thought it was a name for instant rice.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you if you can't embrace your own American culture. Like,
You know, we didn't really
We
eat
all
rice.
just knew it was a San Francisco treat.
We didn't really eat rice almost ever in my house when I was a kid. Now that I think about
Really?
it, which is funny because I eat it daily now.
Wait, do you mix it with rice? I'm confused. I haven't had
No,
it
it's
since
like
I
a
was young.
pre-made package thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm familiar. The San Francisco treat
Your
for
personal
sure.
There's
chef growing
pasta
up
in that.
probably wasn't making rice-a-roni.
Yeah, okay. You mean my mom? Yes.
Right.
She definitely made rice-a-roni. We've definitely had it, but...
All right, let's do it. Let's hop in and discuss In a Violent Nature.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Got the prime time. Main feature.
John Schnorrs.
Eric,
I was like real salty today.
you know what? I feel like between you and Casey, I don't know what the fuck's going on anymore.
I did. I
very
did
spun
sauna.
around.
There were some questions in the chat about whether I saunaed before the show. I did. So
Thank God.
I'm feeling a little more level. than I
Where
was
would we
before
be
that.
if you hadn't?
It's a great question. I'm starting to think it's the key to all of life's problems. It's incredible.
That's
Being
also going to be the
salty or
title of...
saunaing?
The sauna.
Oh.
For a person that literally walks around feeling like trash like 98% of the time, I feel 100% better every time after I get out of that thing.
That's awesome.
It's
I used to
amazing.
enjoy a good sauna.
Yeah.
Do you just
what
run the shower sometimes on real hot and sit
Doesn't help.
in there?
It's not the same.
Okay.
I need to bake in a little wooden box with a stranger. Trying to decide if
In
we
your
should be
gym
making-
clothes.
No, I have a bathing suit on, John. Trying to decide if we should be making small talk or not.
Yeah. Is it elevator rules? Like, how does it work? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I might give a little for me, it's airplane rules, which is that it's a short, polite greeting is understandable and acceptable in the beginning of the interaction, and then we are silent.
Yeah, you're
the
not there to
continuation.
talk.
Yeah.
I feel like the risk you run as a gentleman with body art is that someone might see something and go, how
You know
about
what's
X?
funny is
you know?
in those situations, almost no one ever comments on it. Maybe it's because we're all like half nude and they feel weird commenting on my body, which they probably should.
See,
True.
I always went in with the guys I was lifting with after we got done lifting, and so we would usually chat it up because we've been talking for an hour anyways. So
Yeah. Is it a co-ed sauna or is it Just bros.
Oh, Rachel, you missed the earlier sauna talk.
Oh, it's co-ed. It's co-ed.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like in a.
That
It's
blew
in
my
a
mind.
pool. It's in a room with a pool, so it's like a very
Right.
open. It's not like a weird bathhouse. Like we're not.
I can't
Yeah, it's some
imagine
kinda-
walking into a sauna in like a gym in New York and having a woman be in there. That would be like,
Ours was
What?
co-ed too.
It's 2024, John. Ladies can do all kinds of things, including.
yeah,
in this
no,
one.
they have their own sauna. It's just
Yeah.
you go in most of the men in New York are naked. Let's just be
Yeah.
clear.
I mean,
you
most
just wouldn't do
saunas
that
are
in it.
naked. Yeah.
You just wouldn't do that in this situation. All you'd have to again.
that would
as we
be- you would
covered
be
last week,
arrested,
John,
probably.
You'd have to walk naked through the pool room to do
Yeah.
that. Like it doesn't.
And are there like children pooling around?
Yes.
Or okay,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
This is
Yeah,
definitely
no,
not
you're
a
definitely
sauna
arrested.
then.
Rachel,
at
I'm
that
going to
point.
a YMCA.
Okay.
sauna, so.
Is it also in the haunted mall? I feel like these things could be connected.
No, but I will tell you this: it is in. It's near where I grew up, and it is unchanged in the last 40 years.
The same sauna.
They got a
mold
nice sauna,
since 2003.
Oh, here we go. Dot in the chat says ours are co-ed now, and people are mad.
What
What is wrong with you weirdos? Just put a bathing suit on. Why is this so difficult?
No.
I don't understand.
Straight nude.
You need to be dangling to go in a sauna? Like, what the
Hell yeah, bro. You wear a towel, but
I think that's
You have
weirder
the
than
wrong
just
zombie
wearing it.
girl. Matilda is a naked sauna person. Like she's always going to the Korean spas, getting like shamed by the Korean ladies who are like, "Look at all this skin," and I'm like a never nude, so this is not for me.
Never
come
knew.
on, the Korean ladies are not. They're not nice.
She's also
No.
gone in for like the Russian thing where they like slap her with the branches. She likes an intense physical experience, and I'm just like,
Interesting choice of words. You know, we should probably get back on track here, John.
Probably.
So,
Sauna
let's-
talk?
Let's do the word of the day.
I hope it's something.
That'd be weird. Eric, today's word is ambient. Yeah. AMBIENT, ambient. I don't know. Definitions are a little weird here. Existing or present on all sides, encompassing. And then the second, these are the adjectives of or relating to ambient music. So put a pin in that. Ambient as a noun, an encompassing atmosphere, environment, or music intended to serve as an unobtrusive accompaniment to other activities in a public place and characterized especially by quiet and repetitive instrumental melodies.
Oh, can I tell you something I learned just now, John? I guess I've been slowly, since this movie has been discussed, so a couple of weeks now,
Yeah.
this information has slowly gone into my brain. I finally I finally have absorbed it. I thought ambient was spelled AMBIANT
No.
because you can spell
It's not.
ambience, according to Google, you can spell ambience either way,
Yes.
but not ambient. And that doesn't sound right.
It's pronounced ambiance.
Ambience.
That was mostly a joke, but yeah, actually that is true.
Ambient.
Ambience. That's how we say it in Philadelphia. Ambience.
Tell me about In a Violent Nature, John.
Oh man, I wish I had pulled up the press
Did
notes.
you know? Did anyone read the article I sent?
We all read it, Eric. You marketed
very
this
nice.
article very hard.
Did
so
you guys catch that these dudes were involved in Psycho Gorman?
100% yes.
Which I
Very
surprised me.
exciting. So yeah, In a Violent Nature, it comes to us from writer and director Chris Nash. According to the article that Eric sent, Chris Nash
And read.
and read. He's primarily known for FX and sort of like this is his first feature directing experience, certainly in a long time. He did direct one of the he directed the Z segment in ABCs of Death 2. But as Eric
that
mentioned,
one.
yeah, your favorite. He was
Marshall
involved along with
J.
a bunch of the other filmmakers here, or folks involved with this. They're from Canada. It's a Canadian team, and Psycho Gorman, one of the most important Canadian films of the last, I don't know,
forgot it was
decade.
Canadian.
They were involved there as well. So apparently they, according to this article, they met on the sort of like set of Psycho Goreman and then went on to make this. It is a fairly straightforward narrative. It's kind of complicated to say who the main character is, but I'm going to sort of anchor around two characters. One of them is named Johnny. Johnny is
I
the
would say
killer.
the main character is our killer man.
Yeah. So Johnny, and we'll talk about
God.
Johnny and
I
where
didn't know
Johnny.
he had a name.
Oh
They
yeah,
do
man.
say it in the movie.
He gets he actually gets like a lot of there's a lot of exposition ultimately about Johnny. The other who ultimately, I mean, spoiler-ish, becomes the final girl. Her name is Chris in the film. Andrea Pavlovich is the actress. And yeah, so this we've joked, I think, here on the show, and certainly many times in text. And so I'll just say it if we haven't talked about it on the show. This was marketed, or like at some point, maybe it was like a review that someone read. Casey, I can't remember. Somebody brought it up that this was called an ambient slasher. And that was where the word of the day comes from.
I think it was in the trailer.
It might
was
have
in
been.
the official. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw it somewhere in the official.
Yeah.
stuff.
So it's actually pretty accurate, I think, as a description. What is interesting about this movie, and just to like hit the plot quickly, it opens and we are like in a very weird tight shot on a pipe that is coming out of the ground that has a necklace hanging off it, and we hear some bros. They might be sauna bros. They might be, well, we don't know. They're bros. They're booth bros. They are talking about hiking and like whatever, yada yada. And they don't even like mention the necklace, but I don't think. But at the end of this sort of exchange they have about, oh, we're gonna like hook up with these girls and yada yada yada. One of them grabs the necklace and takes it as like they're on this hike and they're like walking away. The movie then transitions to, we see the pipe fall over, we see the killer rise out of the ground, and we are now following the killer for 80% of the rest of the film. And when I say following, I mean like fairly tight, sort of, it's almost like a video game perspective, over the shoulder, third person shooter-esque.
Very Death Stranding.
Yeah, I mean, walking and eventually killing. The overall plot is sort of very, it's almost like proto slasher or like slasher, if you will. Johnny gets a backstory. It's about like a, mentally, intellectually disabled person who is like tormented and then like dies in a horrible accident.
Yeah, it's like classic 80s revenge slasher.
Yeah, and then like a bunch of firemen are killed because they were involved in hurting Johnny. Johnny's buried in the woods, and this necklace was the only thing keeping him in the ground. And so the rest of the film is basically following Johnny as he murders a bunch of people, and quite graphically, I would say. In a violent nature, one might even posit.
Might. All right, Rachel.
Oh boy.
You've been a little withholding in our text.
Very,
chat, so
very curious where Rachel
Honestly,
curious to
landed.
see what you think.
I mean, I think this movie, as we're going to see tonight, is about to be very divisive this year. I think it's going to be on some top 10 lists. I think it's going to be on the worst list. And I can definitely see why, because I feel like deeply conflicted about this movie myself, and I've watched it twice. So I think what it is it is punctuated with these like brilliant moments, but it's threaded together with these very like languid, glacially paced mood pieces, and your enjoyment of this movie is going to vary greatly based on how you deal with that. I think this thing is like could not be more in the center of like Eric's Venn diagram of things he likes. It is such a
Fascinatingly
like
so. Yeah.
yes, it is such a like horror nerd academic meta exploration about slashers that doesn't just like switch up the formula. It like plays with those elements, and like it uses sort of the shorthand of the language of slashers to to kind of dissect these elements, and like we have the lore and the gore and the final girl, and like ultimately it's like a treatise on what makes slasher scary or not. I don't know. I think I'm still thinking about this movie, and I'm going to be thinking about it all year because
It's
it
very
just
unique.
yeah, it's deeply nerdy and interesting and a bit of an endurance test at times. So yeah, I feel I at the end of the episode I'm curious where I'm gonna land.
I'm so glad you're on tonight because that was way smarter than anything that I have to say. I like it. Go ahead, Casey.
All right. Prepare yourselves.
We should mention we had an unfriended situation with Casey where in the middle of the movie getting rage texts about popcorn.
Hell yeah, I was already salty going into this movie. I came out a little saltier, unfortunately. I did not get a whole lot of enjoyment out of this movie. While I appreciate what they're trying to do here and kind of set the slasher thing on its head, on its head, give us this different perspective, I can appreciate wanting to do that, but here I don't think it's executed because showing this from that killer's perspective, as we've already said, means we're going to spend 80% of this movie watching this big dude walking around the woods. And that's literally all he does. Pardon me. If you think back to other slashes in the past, like in Friday the 13th 2, and Jason had that little hut that he lived in there, and there was... So when he wasn't killing people, he had that little hut. And what weird shit was he doing in that hut? And like, look at all the background shit in Texas Chainsaw Massacre and, the butcher shop. And he's butchering people and stuff. So when I want to see a slasher from that perspective, I want to see what they're doing after, in between those kills with what makes them even more weirder. How does that bleed into their life? This, all it does is make him walk around the woods until he hears a noise.
So it wasn't necessarily like the perspective part of it. It was just you wished we were seeing more from that perspective of what he was doing.
So for me, and I can't help but compare it to this movie, is Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, which showed us the perspective from the killer itself and everything that he put into it to make that event happen. That stuff is entertaining as hell. I know it's a horror comedy, but that is the kind of stuff I want to see if you want to show us that perspective.
I mean, that Leslie Vernon is like uniquely brilliant.
Yeah. But then on top of that, too, I had problems like with the cast itself because there's no characters for you to connect to. There's a point in the middle of this movie where it's still the same group of characters that we got introduced to at the beginning. I think we got their names. We get a little bit of backstory coming out of them. There's a point in this movie where Johnny's doing his thing out in the middle of the woods. Everybody's scattered. I honestly thought for a minute that he found another campsite with more people and he was just rampaging because they were talking about a lot of people coming to this forest camp, to this national park. But then eventually I realized, oh no, this is the same people because it's so dark in this movie. It's hard to make them out sometimes, and we don't spend any time with those characters, so I don't know who's who, and I really ultimately don't care. And
I don't think it mattered necessarily.
I would argue that. Yeah. I mean, I would argue that that's intentional, based on the type of movies that they're deconstructing. Like
it
they
could
just did
be,
that.
But for me, it just frustrated me because I couldn't figure out what was going on, and that, to me, just viewing it. It didn't sit well with me. And then finally, I hear a lot of hype, and I probably got overhyped on this with the kills going on in this movie. There's one nutty kill in here that is absolutely insane, and I really loved it. It was cool. I didn't like the setup for it. I thought that was pretty weak. This is a slasher movie, all the same. There's a cardinal sin here that we have 3 kills of this group that happen off screen. And everybody's hyping up how violent this movie is, how crazy the kills are. And there's 3 off-screen kills. That doesn't work for a slasher.
Casey, hold on. There's like 8 very violent kills in this movie.
You really want to blow? You really want me to blow your mind, Casey? I could have done with less characters and more walking, if I'm being completely honest.
After I watched this dead dude walk into the lake and then stared at the lake for a minute and a half until the girl disappeared underwater, that's freaking frustrating because I wanted to see what happened since we spent the minute and a half watching him get there. I mean, come on. But I think too, like the first kill in this movie that we see of this group is taken straight out of Friday the 13th. You could say either like the Clippers against the pole, or when they snuck up and put the wire saw around him and twisted it. That guy that was getting stoned at the outhouse, pretty much the same thing there. I think the log splitter lost flair because that guy
The
was
log splitting
paralyzed.
scene did not need to be so long. I'll give you that point.
And you couldn't tell. I texted Rachel separately from you guys last night. I said, was he supposed to be dead or like I said, was he supposed to be paralyzed
yeah.
or a really bad corpse actor that couldn't stop blinking?
I think it's really interesting to Rachel's point, like, because I really liked it, but it is also fascinatingly rough around the edges sometimes, and that's part of what you're kind of getting at.
Yeah,
John,
and,
you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not going to go more because I mean I could go for a while. So please move on.
No, I was just gonna say John's got to go because I'm gonna explode.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, all right. Let me give you my experience of seeing this movie because I think it actually like it lends some credence to Casey's point, but like ultimately, I can get to where I netted out. I took a bag of candy into this movie, and I had just eaten a huge sandwich, and I had like a real blood sugar situation where I like spiked and crashed, and so like 10 minutes into this movie, I was like almost dead asleep.
You had an Eric moment.
I had an Eric moment. It was not great, not my best moment, and I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, holy shit. The noise of him walking, it's ambient. It's very much
peaceful.
it is hypnotic.
it was just
Unless
like
you have misophonia. Then
I mean-
challenging.
I was like, this is a vibe.
I legit like the him
Like,
walking
let
was
me
putting me to sleep.
like I wanted to go home and queue up the 10-hour YouTube video of Slasher walking through the woods.
it
Ambient
was
sounds.
it was rocking me to sleep. That like basically all the way up through the campfire scene where you're at least finally now you're getting some characters. I mean, there's this sequence where he goes to his home and the Rangers there yelling at his dad. Yeah, whatever, or whomever it was.
Number one motherfucker. Is that who you're referring?
Yes, yeah, the number one motherfucker. I loved when he thought he found the necklace, and then it was just like number one motherfucker, like chain. I don't know, whatever. No, I think. Look, this movie, they had a very specific thing they wanted to try. They fucking did it.
Yeah,
And-
they did.
It's kind of
did it.
brilliant, is where I net out. Like.
I would love
Look,
that
like-
quote on a poster. They fucking did it.
You all hit on like the way it deconstructs slasher tropes, and like I'm not even you all are better on some of the classic stuff they're referencing in certain parts of this movie, but I get it. Like it's not, and it's not even heavy-handed. It's just like if you are at all familiar with some of the stuff they're referencing, like it comes through pretty strongly. The things that I thought, were really brilliant were this script. They actually get like I was surprised how much plot they were able to get out of. Basically, all of the exposition, which comes through him walking by people talking or like being nearby people talking, and sort of again ambiently picking up. We're sort of like hearing him hear things. He's not even at some points he is listening or he's like watching, but a lot of it's just him walking, and you're sort of getting snippets of dialogue. I was surprised how much plot you do get out of it. The kills are fucking crazy. Like I was not expecting it to be as. It's
The younger girl,
ridiculous
when he like bends it all the way around and then
Yeah.
and like, oh my god.
for a
hilarious.
movie. I went in knowing nothing. Like I didn't see a trailer. I had obviously seen like the poster. I knew that this was like a big Sundance sort of thing, and it had gotten a lot of attention. But I did not know how violent it was going to be. I mean, the movie's fucking violent nature. Like maybe I should have guessed, but it was just like way gorier and like crazier than I was expecting. I think I was texting you guys. My theater, it was just 2:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. My theater was like half full, which is like kind of weird for that
Yeah.
time of day. I was like looking around like, who are these fucking people? Because this movie is fucking crazy, and I cannot believe this many people showed up. The guy sitting 2 seats down from me, another single, white gentleman, was probably 65. And I'm just
love
like,
it.
holy shit, this dude
Listen,
is
John,
gonna
people
have
love a
this
good
mind
slasher.
blowing. Yeah, I mean, the thing I think I would like to talk
all-American.
about the most is honestly the way this movie ends, which is kind
Yeah,
of the
I agree.
craziest.
I
It's
agree. We
like
should get into it when we
it's
get
like the
there.
ballsiest part of the movie in my mind.
Agreed.
And so yeah, I mean, look, it's not a perfect, like, I get it. I understand Casey's frustrations to a certain extent. It's not a perfect movie. It's a fucking low budget slasher. And like it's doing something I've never seen before. Which like credit.
it's very
credit
unique.
to them.
I liked this movie. I was pretty into it. Listen, I love found footage, and I've spent now 17, 18 years on the show pontificating in why I love found footage. But I think what makes found footage movies so good when they work is that you're essentially the rules of a found footage movie are constraining creatively, and that forces you to be creative in different ways, right? Like, and that's why I get annoyed by like a Late Night with the Devil when they just say fuck you to the rules, because it's like this is the whole point. The whole point is that the constraints are force you to become more creative and innovative, right? And that's why a really good found footage movie just like stays in your head because it's different. This sort of hits that same thing for me a little bit. It's not found footage, and they have the advantage in that they're making up this new style, so they can be fudgy with the rules where they want to be. But what makes this so interesting to me is that they sort of put constraints on themselves to force themselves into like telling this story in a completely different way. And again, like to your point, Rachel, you said this much smarter than I can, but like it is based on a thing that we've all seen 10 million times. So we all have these like expectations and understanding of what a slasher film is. And then every one of these scenes, it's like, okay, we're going to do this same scene that you've seen a million times, but we are going to completely scramble the way that you're seeing it in a way that's like, it's very unmooring. Like it makes you uncomfortable almost. But it also does really interesting. I feel like they probably in the process discovered these other really interesting things they weren't expecting to. Like it is peaceful. Like legitimately, it like somebody in the chat was describing it as like a lo-fi slasher. It is totally that. Like, and I know you, Rachel, didn't like the walking sounds, but I was like, all right. I loved the cuts where the weather and the time of day was changing and shit. It was a vibe. And it's like, so it's like relaxing in a way I wasn't expecting. It also was really funny in a way I was not expecting. I was laughing my ass off at every kill. And the people in my theater were also. Because it presents as this kind of fart housey thing, I was not expecting it to also be like a very silly B movie in some spots. Like,
Well, that's
I think
the
those
weirdest
kills
part.
Are,
Yeah,
I think those
agree.
kills are designed to be over the top and silly, honestly.
Wait, you mean
and-
when he pulls someone's head through their
Yeah,
stomach? Yeah,
but
I think
part
it's
of it
silly.
too is the character. Like, again, so what interests me here is that by scrambling the point of view, it just creates all these really interesting new scenarios and new like points of view where you're like, oh, when you follow a type of slasher killer, like, okay, so when you're in a slasher movie like this guy's very Jason-esque, right?
It's exactly
Like
Jason. I was
he's
saying.
very simple in the way that Jason is, and that's so scary when he pops out of nowhere, he murders the shit out of you. But there is like I'm trying to think of what the word is. It's like and I guess it's like because he's like childlike, and that's what's kind of fascinating by. He's like he's not
Curiosity.
he's not a rage monster. That's why he's just like "Duh, duh, duh." He just walks and then hears noise. He's like, okay.
He's
And then-
really good at throwing axes, though.
like
Did
sometimes
you
he
notice
just
that?
sits and he's like checking a thing out, and he's like, there's people near him that almost discover him, but he doesn't even care because he's like looking at the keys. I just found those moments so fascinating, and again, it's what makes this so unique because like you just don't see this kind of thing. And again, like yes, the characters are thin and cheesy. Obviously that's like a slasher thing. I could have done with less character stuff. I'll tell you, like almost my favorite scene in the movie is the first kill, where he kills. Is that his dad, I think. I was kind of confused about that connection.
No, I think it's just the guy that lived on the side of the park.
because he knew who he was, though.
No, I think it is the dad.
I think it's his dad.
No, but his dad, in the lore, his dad is dead.
Yeah.
Because he's like, looks at him, he's like, I told you came back, blah, blah. Like, the guy
I
knew
was
him.
confused about
Probably
this too.
was involved. We
Well,
find out later from
yeah.
the sheriff that
It was a
this
town
is not
legend.
we're essentially in a slasher sequel. We are in Jason 4,
Right.
Jason 5. So he is someone I think that was like involved with the sheriff getting him underground because he's on that guy's property, and that
So I
property
ca- I
is full
s-
of traps.
I straight up came out of that scene thinking that was his dad. But
I
I
did
was
too, actually.
confused because age-wise, that didn't make a lot of sense.
No.
Anyway, though, like, what I love about the scene, I think part of what intrigues me about this film is, like, we're going to learn some stuff about each other tonight, but I have a pretty intense, like, voyeuristic streak. Like, I watch Rachel's eyebrow just went up. Like, I watch IRL streams on Twitch like a maniac. Like, you give me a camera just fixing a person doing whatever, and like I'll watch that. I'll put that on while I'm working or something. So I loved this. We're like, again, and this is a lot of the movie where we're seeing the interaction between the trapper and his neighbor, who's mad at him for putting traps out. But we're just sitting there chilling in the weeds with that dude, watching it. And then the camera, like, I love the camera work in that scene. It's sort of like swaying back and forth behind him. It swings around the house, like. And again, you know, Casey mentioned not seeing the kills. I was okay with not really seeing the kill there because, like, I just loved that perspective and the way the camera was moving. If anything, like, I think this movie should have gone more pretentious. And I think we should have seen less of the conversations with the teens because I don't give a fuck. Like, I liked him walking into a conversation midway. And then what the tension becomes not like, oh, when's the slasher going to jump out? It's like, when are they going to see us? Because we're sitting there with him, right? Like, we're hanging out with him. Like, when is he going to choose to interject himself into this conversation? And sometimes that happens, honestly, in like humorous ways. Sometimes it's scary and tense. Sometimes we're just vibing with him. We're like, yeah, fucking get him. I don't know. Like, it's the way that it bends the perspective
So-
gives a really fascinating seat from which you watch the film.
I mean,
If we're just
because
vibing with him, why didn't we see what he did underwater? I mean,
Well,
I'll
they
tell
set
you
it
why.
up that
we
he
read,
could walk
we
underwater.
read the article. We know
That's
why.
Tell you why, because they
didn't have the
tried to
budget.
shoot it and it was impossible to shoot and they had to do it that way.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I enjoyed that.
No, well,
Again,
that's
like-
what I was gonna say. Like, that's like the most vibe scene of the whole movie because you are just like sitting watching that fucking girl swim and fuck around in the lake for like a full minute.
Again, like,
60 uninterrupted seconds.
I really enjoyed this as an experiment in what does a movie look like when you completely do it from this bizarre, unorthodox perspective. And so the scenes that annoyed you the most, Casey, are probably the ones I liked the most because they're the ones that most leaned into. Because what it does is it pulls you out of any kind of like traditional narrative and
Right.
gets you into this just bizarre, like new
Yeah.
territory.
Well,
And I
it's-
almost wish they would have gone harder in that direction and less trying to give me a story.
the
Like,
the
I
most
want him wandering around a fucking neighborhood. One more thing, Jonathan. I'm done.
Yeah.
I want him just wandering around into random people's conversations and then murdering them. Like,
I
would've-
could get into that.
And whatever. Last thing I'll say is, it really reminded me of Jason Lives specifically, which maybe that's why I'm so jazzed about it. But that's my favorite. That's the one where he comes back as a zombie, right? Where he like comes out of the ground. But then also, it's one of the only Friday the 13th films where we see Jason on his own traveling, like, because there's people spread out all over the woods and stuff. And so we will see in Jason Lives, you see random scenes of just him doing exactly this, only more angry style, but just like stalking through the woods. And I think it's like one of the only Friday the 13th where we like, it's like where we are in a moment where we're not viewing Jason through someone else's perspective. And I almost feel like they liked that movie and just took that idea and just were like, let's see what happens. Fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I was gonna say is like
Also,
the
I love
most
the Minion mask. No.
the most extreme version of this movie is the single cut. Like, whether it's real or fake, you know, they fake it, but the one take, follow him the whole time. He, you know, that's they almost, that would have been the most extreme version. I just don't think narratively you could have pulled that off. You certainly couldn't have pulled off what they did here. You could have made something that's a more art house style non-narrative film that maybe that's like the Eric Wet Dream version of this movie. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think where they ended up pulling punch or pulling back from that concept again is it the fact that you get to where you get to in this movie and you sort of get again I said it before, you get as much characterization as you can on this, at least on the final girl, is kind of remarkable given where you start. Like if I had known even halfway through, I mean, no, it's not fucking poetry or anything, but
Now, and I'll say this to a nod to Casey. The first text I sent when I left the theater was to my friend, and I said, it definitely tested my ability to pay attention. Like, I absolutely had moments where I was like wandering some.
So like, a part of like after that first guy he killed at the outhouse, and I was fine with all that. I think it was like an homage to Friday the 13th and stuff. That's what it felt like to me. I was fine with that point. And then he had that scene where he drug him to that ranger station and broke in using the half of the guy's head, which I did like.
He's also carrying him by his like hands or in his neck.
Yeah.
It's super gory.
And that's where he found his minion mask and his hooks and stuff. But
that scene was such a good laugher, though, when he was like dragging the body.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
But like he was dragging that body there, it seemed like he was going there with a purpose, and he picked that. It felt like he was going there purposefully. So why didn't he? If we were following him after his kills and building something at that ranger station and taking the bodies back or something like that, would have made him walking around and being in his perspective more interesting instead of just wandering around the woods.
Well, he wanted the mask because that was what he was killed in, or that was part of the lore.
The actual best scene in the movie is that scene at that ranger station when he gets shot, and they're gonna chain him up, and we are kind of on the ground with him, so we don't see their faces. That was, to me, the most actually achieved like tension in the film, where he's like, okay, the kid's too scared to chain him. So
I'm gonna
he's, like,
pass you the gun.
So he's gonna pass him the gun, and you know what's gonna happen. That actually got a jump scare out of me. That was so well done.
This is the other thing.
If you're that dude, in the 5 seconds between that happening and you dying, you must be so fucking pissed at that kid.
Why did that gun knock him down and the old guy at the beginning's gun did nothing to him?
Because it was a rifle versus like a shotgun. That was
also, I will say though, this could have been probably stopped by taking 10 steps backwards, exchanging the gun, and then stepping back up. Like, why'd you have to do it?
Cutting his head off at that point.
Why did you have to
right?
exchange the gun right above?
Yeah.
But I love that. I just thought that scene was really well done.
Yeah, I think it's essential that we get some of that, because all of the sort of meditation and like dissection around this, you have to have on the other perspective, the other gaze has to be the dumbest, most basic slasher you've ever seen.
Right.
And so like when those moments are happening, they feel out of tone, but I think that that's essential. Like never have I seen something better illustrate the impact of gaze than this movie. Like if you want to understand how like subjective gaze changes the way that like a narrative is shaped, like look at this movie and then put on like a Jason film. It could not be more like stark than in this. That's why I'm saying like I feel conflicted about it, because I find that deeply fascinating.
Well, I think that's the part that got Eric most excited.
Yeah.
And so if that works for you, it's gonna really work.
I like to watch, John.
If you're going for a slasher for like escapism, though, this thing is going to put you like in a prison of your own mind.
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it. Yeah, there's
Could be where I'm at.
Well, that's what's interesting, right? Is it takes a thing that's typically very breezy and makes it not that.
Yeah. There are several shots in the to me, and Eric, the one where he's on the ground and they're passing the gun, whatever, putting aside the ridiculousness of their behavior, these takes are really long.
Yeah.
They're really, really long. And, I was talking about the most extreme version of this is the single take, but there's several takes that are minutes long, I think.
Yes.
And I loved at least the gumption to have some of these kills take place in a situation. Almost all of them, because I was started to pay attention sort of like a third of the way in. I'm like, wow, these takes are really long. I want to see where they cut, especially when you get to the kill, it's really hard to do the type of gore work that they're doing without some cuts.
Well, and it's like in order to see the effect, because we spend most of the time right behind him, literally like the camera in a first person. Like there's something video gamey about those scenes.
Yeah.
Like it's like it reminds me of Mario 64, where the little turtle in the cloud is like got the camera behind him.
Or
But-
what was the game you referenced, which is a more
Death
appropriate?
Stranding, which is a walking simulator, essentially.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I was talking about the found footage analogy. Like they really have to get in. They have to bust out of that when they do a kill, because if you're just behind him, you can't see all their work, right? So that's when the camera will often like swing around or kind of move a little bit.
But even still, there are a couple longer takes that are from not that behind him perspective that are just really well done. They're well staged. They clearly had a plan. They executed the plan.
I love so when they go back to walking at the end. There's somewhere in the third act. There's like another walking montage, but this time,
well, with the girl.
the bugs. No, I think it was him. Maybe it's not.
No, it's the girl, and the bugs get like crazy.
so loud. And what was fascinating, if you read the article, is like that was like a thing that sort of happened out of them getting basically
Necessity.
tortured to like during the production by the black flies in this Canadian forest. And so like then the idea, I thought that was really neat, the idea that then the sound design people like worked that in, because it's so intense, the sound like in that scene.
Yeah, I was okay with the ambientness of this, with the sound design and stuff like that. I thought that was kind of cool, and the way they handled that with this one. It's my problems really hinge on he doesn't do anything from his perspective in between kills. Is where my biggest problems
I mean,
lie.
he's
Casey,
truly
the point-
the shape. He's
the
the,
point-
shape. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
The point I was gonna make is like the movie is more or less told in real time. I mean, it's not real time, obviously. Like it's like more like 48 hours passes, but like
Yeah.
there's not really time for him to do a whole lot else other than walk. Like, because he walks a lot. He travels like a really long distance if you were to map out probably everywhere he goes. I was curious because, Casey, you sort
It's
of
not.
referenced...
More than anything, it's not entertaining to me.
Well, but he wakes up, he wants to get the necklace, and he's going to just, like, kill basically everyone he runs into until he gets the necklace. So, like, I wasn't expecting him to do anything else. Him taking the break to go get the mask and the hooks and the axe, that's like the most break that you get of him doing anything. But otherwise, from there, it was just like, okay, where's this necklace? At one point, he thinks he gets the necklace when he throws the axe, and then he's like digging in the guy's pockets. I think it's the other guy that, whatever. But
So
and then
maybe
he-
it's more accurate to say that I did not appreciate those long shots like you did. And that's not a slam or anything. Those just did not land to me. To me, they felt like they needed to be heavily edited. And maybe that's where my problem is, that those scenes, there's a lot of those scenes, especially those walking scenes from his perspective, that stretch out too long. I think you could have crammed this down to like an hour long part of an anthology, and I think it would have been pretty good.
well, it's
Did
just a different movie at that
Are
point.
you saying you felt like a prisoner of your own mind while watching it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, like, are we going to talk about the ending? Because I actually think
yeah,
that's like
let's do
one
it.
of the best parts of the film, because I think
So-
it really highlights where the real, like, where the fear is in
I would
horror.
love,
Yeah.
Rachel, your thoughts on the conversation, because that was the part that I was like, do you guys need me for this? Do I need to be here? But when she's initially getting in the car, and then when they stop so she can like dress her wound or whatever, those scenes are crazy tense because you're just waiting for him to bust out of the
Yeah.
Well, you're
thing.
also. I think you're waiting for. I was waiting for the woman to be like, "Oh, my boy Johnny."
because she's a
She
little
was
wacky. 'Cause she's a little
that
wacky.
lady was a Friday
Yeah.
the 13th cameo, by the way. I don't remember which one, but I saw somebody mention it on Slack last night.
Oh, interesting.
I don't.
Yeah, it's interesting
okay,
because
I'm gonna
they
look.
like used all of the sort of tropes and standard sort of slasher language to lead you through the story up until that point, and then it kind of flips it and weaponizes it to make, because like all of us get really suspicious of her, and we're like, where is this story going? Why is this happening? And like ultimately nothing really comes of it, but it really uses those tropes to just absolutely turn you into a bundle of nerves. It's, to me, the most effective part of this film.
It's the most pointed critique, if you or sort of like criticism of the genre mechanics of slashers in the whole movie to some extent.
Yeah.
It is 100% withholding
Yeah.
the release that you expect to get
Right.
in
John,
a
say that
slasher
again.
movie. Now, they give you the last shot, and I was like kind of happy they did, because otherwise it would have been like, what the fuck? There's this moment where the girl has the necklace, and she also is like, they were like gonna set a trap. I love that they're like gonna set this trap, and then he immediately fucking annihilates this dude. This is actually one of the funniest scenes in the movie to me. He hits that guy with the axe 300 times. I mean,
Yes.
he just keeps doing it, which gives her the chance to leave the necklace and walk away.
I love that scene where she's frozen and then slowly like starts to be like,
Nope out.
So then, like from the filmmaker's perspective, it's like it's all withholding from there. It's like we don't
Yeah.
see him the rest of the movie, and so then to Rachel's point, you have this whole very long extended scene where every moment you're sort of like, where's the killer? Where's the killer?
Yeah.
They do eventually go back and show you, oh, he did take the necklace. Like, okay, I guess we're done here. But I don't know. It's in the moment, I was like, I cannot fucking believe this scene. I literally was
Yeah.
just sitting there being like, I cannot believe what they're doing here. But after the fact, I sort of had to tip my cap. And
Yeah, well, because they gave us all the violence up front. They were like, "Here you go, here
Yeah.
you go, here you go," and then they withhold in a way that like highlights how anticipation of violence is the most effective way to create tension and scares versus actually giving it to us. I don't know. I thought it
And
was
what's
kind of
interesting is
amazing.
you don't get that through the rest of the movie because we're just hanging out with them. So we're just
Right.
like,
well, you're with the
gonna go
killer the
get 'em?
whole time. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no who is it, who
I'd
done
be-
it. Like,
Casey,
what's he doing? Where is
you
he?
just blew my mind. She was in Friday the 13th Part 2. I feel ashamed I did not pull that.
God, Eric, I thought I knew you. This
I
is-
know.
Yeah.
If anyone.
I'm gonna be honest with you though. The ending, I get the withholding thing, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate my problems at the ending are probably because they are flipping the slasher genre on its head, and it didn't land with me. So that's probably where my issues come from. I kind of drove me nuts that the fact that our final girl had little to no reaction to all this stuff. She screamed once when she tripped in the woods, and she was pretty quiet throughout the entire rest of this stuff. And to be honest, in the middle of hearing the story about Bobby, the monologue about Bobby, I was to the point of shut up already. Let's
That
go.
was a moment where I was like, does this conversation need to be this long? Like, I don't
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And I realized what that story was laying out, kind of the nature of, what's driving this little cinematic world we're in. But after like 45 seconds of it, I stopped caring.
Oh, I was into
John,
it.
Joe Ferry beat me to it, but can you say holding the release again?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not gonna. I'm actually gonna withhold right
It's a
now.
whole genre of videos, John.
Withholding. Now I have a crush on John.
Rachel, with what you now know about me, does this not make complete sense to you? My-
I feel like so many things came together for me tonight, but you know what I mean.
Oh, you're supposed to hold it in. That's the whole point. Blue Balls the movie. All right. Anything
That's
else?
gonna be
we-
the story of BGH. I feel like when they-
I will say that crazy ass kill on the aerobics girl on the thing. That scene was a bit triggering for me with my neck surgery in the past when her head started going down and you saw the discs pop out of her neck. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
literally like, "Oh God!"
Dude, it was really gruesome. That's when I'm looking around the theater, just thinking, who are these fucking weirdos in the middle of the day on
trying to
Tuesday?
make meaningful eye contact with them. Yeah, they're the weirdos.
What are we all doing here?
Love it. All right. Moment of truth, folks. Would you recommend In a Violent Nature, Rachel?
You know what? Yes. I think wherever you land on this, whether you're a salty Casey or a a different kind of salty, Eric, then it's gonna be one of the most interesting films of the year. So I think if you're a horror nerd, you got to watch it.
You will not
gotta watch
forget it, for better or worse. Casey.
I'm gonna say yes because I think it is doing something. They tried to do something unique here, and I think it's worth watching. And I think it is divisive. It did not land for me. I think it's a 50-50 thing, and so I think you should give them a shot just for their taking
Learn
a
a
chance.
lesson from Casey. Sneak snacks in so that if the religious people are
Oh,
at
yes.
the popcorn bar, you can still eat.
Yeah,
Yes,
Casey,
the-
what was the movie that they were seeing?
It was just called Jesus, and it's something about from
Jesus,
like a
Indiana.
deaf ministries or something. And I
Nice.
don't know. It's something I'd never seen anything before. They had posters all up, and from what I saw, it didn't come out till towards the end of the month, so it was like a free screening. And these
Preview.
folks were all over the place, and they were
I
very
told
excited
you,
about
tell
the
him
movie.
Jesus is back. He's outside and he's pissed. They would have scattered.
John,
Yeah, I'm a yes.
I'm also a yes. And I think I'm about to make some bold moves in my top 10. So
Woo! R.I.P. Night Swim.
stay tuned for that.
So
and
hard.
We'll be right back.
I can't believe you said recommend, Casey. Midnight Casey last night would not have said recommend.
I was thinking about it, but I mean, they did try something new here, so I will give them credit for that. And I do think it's divisive. I think
you
it just
not
didn't land for me.
You gotta work your way through it. You gotta work your way through it.
Yeah, but I have worked my way through it, and I've thought about it.
Oh. Yeah. Well, that's fair.
I just discovered I can mute all of you if I want to.
Oh.
I felt like that was like a warning shot at me.
Ready?
When you muted Casey.
Go ahead. Start saying something, Rachel. Oh, you're muted.
I got him.
Amazing. Gotta be careful. I might get drunk with power. right.
I can't unmute. If you mute me, like you have a lot of power.
Man,
Now he's thinking about that you told him that you can't unmute yourself.
this is
what can
going
I
at my
do?
number. This is going at my number 3. So this is going to displace everything from ISS down, and it will bump. This is the first time ISS has moved in months, John,
I know.
and it's
Holding
going to bump
strong.
9 Swim to number 9.
Oh, wait, hold on. I thought it was number 10.
I only have 8 on my list right now.
Oh my God, I've been counting down the days. You're teasing me now.
Now who's
So
withholding
bullshit.
the release?
Yeah, exactly. This is bullshit. So wait, what you have Lisa
so right now my top
Frankenstein number
3 is
1?
Lisa Frankenstein, Love Lies Bleeding, In a Violent Nature, ISS, and Immaculate is my top 10. My top 5 right now.
Okay.
Man, you broke up the like all women directed film block at the top, but that's okay.
Step it up, women. What am I gonna do?
How do I mute you?
Wow.
Like to have me on your show. Aha! No email tonight. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Huge shout out to all the people on YouTube. I think this is the most concurrent live viewers we've ever had. People playing along with the updated BGH bingo card that is in Slack. And yeah, thanks everybody who stopped by tonight. Levi, speaking of bingo, Levi would like to know, does Eric asking John to repeat "hold the release" count as Eric swooning over John? Because that's on the bingo card, John. It might. I think I might allow that. Yeah.
Depends. It's,
Also-
you got to
but
you have
also
to read
there's
his tone really.
There's a square that's like 4 thumbs up or whatever. Does Casey's count there?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think technically it does.
he said recommend.
there you go. What do we got, Casey?
All right, I got a couple threads out there. First up, we got for right now, what do you think hasn't been done in the slasher genre?
If I knew that, I'd be making movies and not have a
That's
dumbass
fair.
podcast.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I
mean,
don't think
Slasher
the
in
first.
the Marianas Trench. I don't know, man.
The one thing that jumps to my mind is doing it all in first person, but didn't they do an action movie in all first person that was terrible?
Wasn't that
Like
was that
5
movie
or 6 years ago?
Upgrade?
Yeah, maybe.
I didn't
there
think
was
that was
also
bad. I
that-
thought that was pretty good.
I
There's
don't.
the-
I don't know that I saw it.
Hardcore Henry.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
the one
no,
I'm
no,
thinking of.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, yeah. I don't think Upgrade was in first person. Or
I
maybe-
just don't think I've never heard anybody talk about Hardcore Henry after it came out. But maybe a first person slasher, and there was those rumors of one of the Jason remakes being first person, or like a first person, not
Found
first person,
footage?
found footage. Yeah, that would be interesting if they could work out the camera angles.
I love found footage, man. I watched the Hell House prequel over the weekend. It was pretty good.
You are just like in for the Hell House torture,
Dude,
huh?
I will watch every fucking Hell House movie till I die.
Yeah, that prequel is better
And,
than the third one, I think.
I was chatting with our friend Sophie because she does all the production design in those movies. She was in the credits. BGH fan.
Nice. I mean, I support that.
Yeah.
Remember, John, when what was it, Hell House 2 came out, and you're like, yeah, the lady who serves me my coffee is in it.
Yeah, she was.
You remember that?
Yeah, yeah. My
Wild.
barista. Yeah, she was really cool. That was my pre-pandemic coffee spot. Still there. I haven't been by though in a long time. I wonder if she's
Do
still
those
around.
cups count as like autographed if they say your name?
Maybe.
All right, guys. We have the
I
first
got two more.
We have the first official BGH bingo.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Oh, all right.
And the squares are Eric swoons over John. Rachel is the guest. The BGH middle square, which is our logo. Casey doesn't like the movie. John likes the movie.
Nice. Congrats.
Oh, hey, Sophie's in our chat.
Hey.
Hi, Sophie. All right. We've got a deep, hard-hitting question here from Popcorn Designs. What's your favorite public place to watch porn?
So, John,
Is this
you
an
weren't on-
X reference?
John, again, you're not on Slack, but no, we had a discussion because the other Caitlin was saying she was like walking her dog and like could hear a gentleman in his truck loudly watching porn. And so she said she literally just rolled up next to him and stood there and stared at him.
Oh my god.
Until they put it away.
I wouldn't
So
go
that started-
anywhere near that.
That started a discussion of other times we've seen that happen, and somebody said they saw it on a plane.
Huh. I've seen it once driving in downtown Indy and stuck in traffic and looked over and saw some
seen it
dude
in
watching
traffic,
porn
yeah.
on his center dash console.
I mean, I was recently on a plane and I put on a movie that I didn't realize had porn in it. Does that count? But
What movie?
It's called Blew My Mind. It's like this Nordic body horror mermaid coming of age thing. And so she's like watching
This
porn.
this wasn't on the seat back. This was like a thing you had on your like
I had my
laptop.
laptop open and I like slapped the laptop closed, but the lady next to me's eyes were like this. They were like
Yeah.
this. Right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So
I
I'm the
thought-
perpetrator in that one, but not on purpose.
I thought you're just sitting in a Delta seat, firing up the old, you know, what's
Wow,
on
chicka
the
wow
seat
wow.
back. Yeah, it's Norwegian mermaid.
Norwegian
porn.
mermaid horror.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay. Okay.
Yeah, it was not airplane appropriate. Mistakes were made. I was like flying to the Midwest. I'm sure she was like a nice, wholesome knitting lady. She saw some things.
She's talking about that moment with her podcast right now. So
I assume.
I was on a flight with my boss once coming back from Vegas, and I had my iPad, and I figured, hey, I haven't watched The Wraith for a long time. So I downloaded that through whatever streaming
Oh,
service.
there's a lot of nudity in that movie.
Forgot
isn't
there was nudity in it because I hadn't seen it in a long time. My boss,
Yeah.
I was on the aisle, my boss was across from me. He was asleep through half the flight, and as soon as the first booby scene started, my boss was like, "What are you watching?"
that movie's a little saucy. Also, like, it kind of blows my mind that they just put movies on those planes that are like full of
Yeah.
nudity and other
Wild.
shit. Like, there's kids around. You like, you know.
Yeah. I was on a flight from London and I watched some guy watch Promising Young Woman on the seat back of him.
Ooh.
He watched that and Top Gun. So I was like,
See,
I feel
this
like I
is
know
why
everything I
watch-
need to know
this
about
is why
you,
I watch
sir.
Avengers movies only on flights, John.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
family-friendly entertainment.
All right, last one from Center of Nowhere. What should I be when I grow up?
oof.
Don't grow up. Being a grown up
Yeah.
sucks.
A
He's
great
a horror
answer.
movie podcast.
Great answer.
European. Canadian's probably safer than European.
I don't know. Maybe find someone with a trust fund and like get hitched.
Yeah, true.
That's
Yeah.
Marry
my
up.
mom always recommended. So
That's it for threads.
All right. Let's see what we got. Don't all get excited at once, guys.
Woo! Yeah, IG. Let's do it.
Final Girl says, did all the quiet walking lull anyone else to sleep? Or was it just me?
Schnars.
yeah, I was close.
Yeah.
I was leaving my body.
Rory says, what other genre should get an art house film? My answer was trauma.
Yeah.
How, yeah.
For some reason,
You
my
guys were-
mind
yeah.
my mind went to the movie. It's not even an answer to this question, and I don't know why. Because I was trying to think of what's the most absurd film to take and then turn into an art house movie. You ever heard of the movie Monster?
Yes.
It just made me think about it. I remember getting screeners for it back in the day. Like I have a DVD copy of Monster, legitimately.
Which of the basket case movies is the one where where Belial gets power armor? That
That's
one.
3. That's
Okay.
Basket Case 3. Yeah.
Basket case 3.
Isn't Belial
A24
and Power
edition.
Armor just Krang from the Ninja
That's
Turtles?
Krang. Yeah,
Yeah.
straight up, that's Krang. Dude, Krang is so cool. What a cool villain. I love the Ninja Turtles so much.
Which came first, Krang or Quato? I'm Team Quato.
I don't know when. 'cause
Quato from Total
'cause he-
Recall?
Yeah.
The original Turtles comics were from the 80s, but I don't know if Krang
Yeah.
was in those or if he was an invention later.
Some of my
Yeah.
favorite graffiti I ever saw in Canada was Quato Lives. I was like, yeah.
It's good.
Do you think you would struggle with the monotony of being a slasher killer?
I
don't know,
I
he
don't
seemed
think
pretty
the
chill.
monotony is the thing that
This
like,
guy was vibing.
disqualifies me.
He was living his best life. He made it look pretty good.
Your hook
Again.
work, Rachel's not strong. You feel like
I mean, my right hook's okay, but I'm very not ambidextrous. So
your
my left
ability
hook
to
is-
punch through a human body.
Oh no, I
just
got
with
that
your bare
unlocked.
hand?
That's
Oh,
fine.
okay,
That's
cool.
fine. No.
You've been practicing.
I mean,
Again, I
it's
go back
hard
to-
not to when you know you got this gun show happening.
Again, I go back to the Leslie Vernon. Well, you got your setup for your people that you're going to be killing. You got a lot of cardio to do. There's stuff to get done to prepare.
I mean, I'm good at hiking, so I've got
Yeah.
that check. It was very weird the day after watching this, going for a hike, as I shared with you guys. I was like hearing myself solo hiking through. I was like,
I did text Eric last night after I left the theater that if you're into watching fat dudes walk around for an hour and a half, I go out every morning at 7:45 a.m. I'll give you the matinee fee. Ticket cost.
Man,
Dude, this
it's been
guy
a
he's pretty
while.
huge. He was not
It's
you
been
know.
a long time since a movie made Casey this upset.
no, I like it.
It literally might be Unfriended that made the last one time he got this mad.
It was close. Not quite there. I did come
'cause-
around on him
because this is what I know.
eventually.
Casey rarely texts in the middle of the movie. So when he does,
Yeah.
that's when you know it's going down.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we got
It's
a
a bad
text in the
sign.
middle of Unfriended, literally that was like, is this whole fucking movie on a laptop? I'll never forget it. We were like, oh no, brother. I got bad news for you.
You're 100%
History
right too.
repeated itself.
You're 100% right. You don't start texting in the movie unless it's going downhill fast.
No, and I see, because I do often text you guys in the middle of the movie. I'm texting during trailers. I'm like, hey, did you guys see this? Did you guys see this? Because I know I'll never remember after the movie.
Oh, 100%.
All right, Chris says, friends are saying they laughed throughout, but normies were silent. Did you laugh? I was laughing my ass off. Like, at the kills, but at some of the funny moments with the killer where he was just being oblivious or just,
I laughed
so
at the
chill.
ranger station when the ranger told the kid go get the chains and he came back with the swing set chain to tie up that giant dude.
No one in my theater was laughing, and I was like sort of chuckling, but then I was worried that the people were judging me for laughing at like extremely gory things. So
Yeah.
you know.
It sounds like so. We got one from Whitney. It sounds like she has not seen it. Do you see violent true crimes in a different way after this? For example, I'm hearing about a person stabbing someone 40 times, and this film gives that visual. Or maybe she did see it. I can't parse that. But I mean, no, because it's just funny. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Wait, but is she talking about a different movie?
No, she's talking about the end when he's just like,
Oh, yeah, when he's just whacking.
yeah. It's like a Family Guy joke.
sorry,
It's funny,
Rachel.
and then it's not,
Excuse
and then
me.
it's funny again.
Wacky.
I mean, I think there's something sort of absurd when we get to that level of violence. It doesn't feel true crimey at all. I mean, the kills are really interesting in this because, like, sometimes they're over the top to the point of camp, like the pretzel lady one, and then there's other ones like the log splitter, which is just like this slow, languid, almost like hypnotic kill.
Well, that's
And I
one
think
where it's one take too, and it
Yeah.
is. You are sort of like, oh wow, they're really doing this.
And I don't know if it's just like that's how the film came together, or if there's like he's making commentary around these kills.
The sequence she's referencing when he's hitting that he keeps hitting the one guy. There's a shot where he's hitting the head, and it's not a close. It's not like a tight shot on the head,
Yeah.
but it's a solid 4 or 5 second hold on him hitting, and it just looks like he's hitting him out. Like that to me was camp.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous looking. I mean, look, I don't know what it looks like when that happens to someone, and I hope I never find out. Like obviously, but it was played for effect, I would say.
See, I was kind of let down, like with the rock scene.
Mm.
When he squashed that dude's head with the rock because there was no. This is going to sound silly when I say it, but there wasn't really any gore. It really kind of read to me like it was clearly dropped a rock on a water balloon full of blood. If we had some bits of hair, skull, and stuff like that would have splattered out underneath that rock, then it would have been like, oh shit, that was nuts.
Yeah.
That was another shot though, where it's basically uncut. It's. I'm curious how they did it. I don't know if that's drone these days or what, but you're following him overhead. I mean, it's a pretty acrobatic shot, and that they get all the way to the rock drop without a cut. I mean, there's got to be a cut in there somewhere, obviously, but they more or less did it without a cut or not an obvious cut. I don't know. I thought it was cool. Yeah, I mean, you're like to say that it's not gory is a bit extreme because it's pretty
it's
fucking
gory.
gross.
But
You
like I'm
know?
thinking
Yeah.
about like comparing that like beating scene at the end with something like Possessor with the when he gets his face bashed in. Like there's like
Yeah.
not a silliness, but like there's some separation of realism that is happening that
Yeah, but like if you look at the movie as a whole and compare it to the kills in Terrifier, in the Terrifier movies, I don't think they did outside of Pretzel Lady. I don't feel like they went as over the top with that stuff as like Terrifier did.
I really need Terrifier not to
the-
be the barometer.
Yeah, well, the only kill I remember is him chopping the one lady in half at this point, but you know, which was a bit much.
To
For
me,
me.
that's part of my hang up is calling it in a violent nature, and I felt Terrifier was much more violent.
I think maybe
Overall.
that is a commentary on us as an audience that we're like,
That very
someone
well
got
could be.
pretzel, then we're like,
Honestly,
come on, man, give us the blood.
That reaction is shocking to me because I found it insanely violent. Like way more than I thought it was going to be. I actually wasn't expecting much violence. Maybe I just didn't see that take anywhere. But
Yeah,
Should
I
we
mean,
talk about
I may have
Omnibus?
bought into the wrong hype. It's possible.
I mean, it's the marketing was interesting. I did also think it was going to be again like more artsier than it was.
To be fair, my hype all gets built on Threads, which is new territory for us, and there's like new people we're interacting with and getting that hype from. So that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a learning
And
experience.
I don't use Threads or X anymore, so I can't believe I just called it X.
I know.
Stupid. I don't use Threads or Twitter anymore.
Yeah,
I'm just
welcome
on
to the
Inst-
revolution.
I'm just on Instagram, and no one's talking about. Well, I mean, some people in their stories, but it's not the. You're not seeing the volume of hot movie takes all the time, and it's honestly kind of nice. I don't need people's dumbass thoughts all the time.
I'm enjoying Threads myself. As far as social media goes, it's like my speed.
Yeah. That's it. There were some more things, but we answered all of them pretty much in the review. So there you go. Thank you again, everybody who joined us tonight. Rachel, where can people find you?
You can find me all across the Zombie Girls Podcast Network. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at ZG Podcasts or personally at Rachy Pants.
Love it. We didn't even talk about the Alien trailer.
I was going to say
Alien-
no Romulus chat. Okay. All right.
I want more than anything in
What?
the world. More than anything in the world, what I want is a trailer for this film where at the end you just hear Brian Cox from Succession yelling Romulus, like with the echo of a ship in the background. Like I just want to hear like Romulus, get in here. Oh man,
I don't know.
No,
Is
the
it
trailer
just-
fucks though. The trailer looks. I am much more hyped for it now than I was
It looks
previously. I would say.
nasty and mean. in
There's
a way
something
that I
There's
about
like
like.
that
a
trailer.
lab. They're on like a derelict ship, and there's a lab in there where it looks like they've been experimenting with
Yeah.
stuff.
That
I thought
X-ray
the-
scene, I almost wish it wasn't in there because it's just so good and then
Yeah,
so
that was good.
like skin crawling that I almost wish I hadn't seen it, but it does look good.
I don't know from what if any of you guys felt this, but did it seem like the face huggers were like a little more aggressive in this trailer?
Oh, they're
That's
super
what John
face
said
rapey.
about Schnar said that about the teaser.
Yeah, it was in the. They're like
They look-
sprinting.
yeah, they're like amped up, which make up play into the lab that Rachel's talking
Maybe
about.
they're on meth.
Maybe space meth.
I feel like in Aliens though.
What
they're
about
pretty
face
aggressive.
huggers, but with meth?
I feel like they're pretty aggressive in Aliens, aren't they?
Yeah, but they seemed like extra a little bit. I don't know why. Like John said, they're faster. It seemed.
Yeah,
were
I mean,
more
I
focused
honestly
on-
just feel like that's like a new Star Wars, old Star Wars thing where like the technology, like you can just
That's
do it
where I
now.
was gonna go. Yeah.
Like they were just puppeting that ship before and had limitations.
And I wasn't complaining about it.
No,
I'm all for more aggressive face huggers. I'm excited. Those things creep me out.
Easy, we get
So
it.
go
You
from,
love
like,
the face
his-
huggers.
So the monkey jail is being replaced by the space meth lab.
Maybe.
Facehugger, Space Meth Lab. Love it. So, what are we doing this week?
The Watchers.
The Watchers, and what is this? I don't know what this movie is.
Who watches The Watchers? We do.
It is. I don't remember her first name, but it is M. Night's daughter's directorial
I think
debut.
it's like Ishana.
Okay.
Oh,
he
she's
produced.
directing? I thought she
Yeah.
was starring.
No. She's the director.
Gotcha. That makes more sense.
She might have written it as well. I did not look.
Does it look Shyamalan-y?
Have you not seen the trailer? I feel like I've seen the trailer 15 times.
Maybe.
I think I've seen it twice. I don't go to the
Ishana,
theaters
you
much.
are correct. Yeah. It looks pretty. It looks a little Shyamalan-y. We'll see. A.M. Shine and Ishana Shyamalan are the writers.
Love it.
So
And when does their Alien movie come out?
Soon, I think.
July. Yeah,
no, it's yeah. I mean, I guess you're right. July's only a couple weeks
Yeah.
away, but yeah, it's in like 6 or 7 weeks, something like that.
Oh, I want to wait.
Actually, well, I had it originally for August 16th, but maybe it got moved.
And when's
I'll have to
Long
check.
Legs? Can you just walk
Long
through
Legs
through
is
the
coming
rest of the
in.
year?
That's in like 4 weeks. Here, hold on. I got it. So we have
I did
Watchers.
not.
We have 2 weeks off. Then we have
Or
Quiet
2
Place,
weeks
which
of video pics.
yeah, 2 weeks not in the theater. Quiet Place.
is
So
August.
this is a 4-week run. We have Quiet Place, Maxine, Long Legs,
Wow.
and then Twisters, which we'll probably but I'm excited for Twisters.
I'm
So.
boycotting
Y'all, I
it.
did not
I mean,
know until
Katie
like a week
O'Brien
ago.
is in it. I'm seeing it.
I didn't know until like a week ago Nick Cage was in Long Legs.
Yeah, man.
I didn't know because I hadn't watched the trailer yet, so now I'm excited.
Yeah.
Miss Perkins.
So then we go Cuckoo, Trap. So Trap is the new M. Night movie. Alien, Blink Twice, which we'll have to wait and see if we're going to cover that. But I don't know. I thought the trailer was pretty
Cuckoo
sweet.
I'm pretty interested in that too.
Yeah. They Listen, Beetlejuice, and then
Man.
Speak No Evil.
We could end up with a really
Damn.
banger year for a
It's
horror.
no, there's a lot of theatrical stuff for sure. I kind of get the sense that there's a lot of things that are getting a bigger theatrical push because the cupboards are pretty bare because of the pandemic or the strikes. And so they're just like, fuck it. We maybe certain things that like even this Cuckoo movie,
Right.
I just feel like it's
Yeah.
getting a lot of push.
Some things
and
are
I'm like,
getting a big push that might not have before
yeah.
because there's less stuff crowding it out. Is
Yeah.
what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, I think Neon is like coming for A24's gig, especially if A24 is trying to go more mainstream.
Yes, 100%. That's true as well. So we'll see.
Love it. All right, y'all. It's gonna do it for In a Violent Nature. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.